Hello to all my story lovers. Welcome back in Story Time channel. I'm Pallavi reading interesting stories for you. You know that I'm reading the 7 Voyages of Sindbad. In that we read first and second voyage. Today I'm reading the third voyage. Now listen carefully what happened in the third voyage. Let's go. The following morning, after saying his prayers, Sindbad the porter returned to the mansion of Sindbad the sailor, who welcomed him and seated him by his side. Other guests arrived and Sponge's meal was served, after which Sindbad began his story. I was even richer after my second voyage. For a while, I lived a life of great comfort in Baghdad. Then, once again, I was plagued by the desire to seek my fortune in far off lands. I prepared for another long voyage and boarded a fine new ship at Basra. For many weeks, our voyage was pleasant and prosperous. We sailed from port to port, buying and selling goods. Then, one day, disaster struck. The captain of our ship cried out as he stood on the gunwale examining the ocean. Allah preserve us, my friends. The wind has driven us off our course and brought us to the mountain of the Zugab. They are ferocious apes who leave no man alive. He had barely finished speaking when the apes were upon us. They swarm all over the ship like ants, gnawing the cables and ropes. We dare not stop them. So many were they. They were short, wild creatures, frightful to behold, covered with hair, yellow-eyed and black-faced. They forced us onto their island and made off with our ship and cargo. We were alive, but we were stranded. The island had fruit we could eat and fresh water we could drink. As we walked about, we came upon a tall, strong castle surrounded by a wall with a gate that was open. We entered and found ourselves in a large courtyard. There was a long stone bench at one end with braziers, firewood, cooking pots, and a large heap of bones. But there was no living creature in sight. We sat down to rest, and one by one we fell asleep. When we awoke, the light had gone mellow and the sun was about to set. The earth began to tremble. Each wall, each bench, every object began shaking violently with every thud. From the top of the castle down came a monstrous figure, a giant with eyes like burning coals and teeth like tusks. He had long, loose lips like those of camel, and his mouth gaped open like the mouth of whale. His nails resembles the claws of a lion. We were frozen with terror at the sight of this monstrous creature. Flight or even movement seemed impossible. He came towards us. The rancid strength of his body threatened to overcome us. He reached out his hairy paw and plucked me up from among my companions. The monster felt me all over like a butcher feels a sheep to see how much meat there is on its bones. Fortunately for me, I was very lean and he let me go. He then reached out and picked up another of my companions. In the same way, he examined and rejected one man after another. Finally, he picked up the captain of our ship, who was stout and fleshy. We watched in horror as the ogre broke the captain's neck and thrust a sharpened iron rod through his body. Lightning of fire, he roasted our poor captain like a kebab, chewed him up, and spat out his bones. We cowered in corner by the wall, not wanting to see the horrific scene in front of us, but unable to turn our eyes away. The night was so bitterly cold that we huddled together for warmth. His millover. The monster lay down on the stone bench and fell asleep. He snored and gurgled and burped the whole night. The sound was so loud that none of us could sleep a wink, though we were faint with exhaustion and fear. In the morning, the ogre woke up, roared loudly a few times, and left the castle. It was only then that we dared to talk and weep at our misfortune. That entire day we roamed through the island looking for a hiding place or a way to live, but found neither. We debated about staying outside as the sun began to set, but we know that in the open, in the bitter cold, we would all freeze to death. As night fell, we crept back to the castle, hoping against hope that the ogre might not return. But he did. Once again, he killed, roasted, and ate one of us. He snored thunderously the whole night and went out in the morning again. After he left, we sat down to discuss what we could do. By Allah, said one merchant, it is better to drown in the sea or freeze to death in the open than die so foul a death as this. We must kill this monster, cried another. He does not deserve to live. Hear me, my brothers, I said. Let us take some of this firewood and these planks down to the seashore and make a boat. Whether we succeed in killing the ogre or not, we will have a means of escape. Even if we drown at sea, we shall at least not be roasted over the kitchen fire. They all agreed with me. We worked hard, made a boat, and stocked it with fruit. Then, for it was late by the time we were done, and none of us wanted to set sail in the darkness, with quaking hearts, we returned to the castle. Against at nightfall, the earth trembled, and in came the dreaded ogre. Once again, he pawed us like a hungry animal. Then, selecting another poor, unfortunate man, he killed and ate him in the same barbaric manner. We waited till we were sure he was asleep. Then we heated 2 iron rods in the fire till they were red hot and rammed them into the monster's eyes with all our strength and blinded him. Howling in pain, the ogre sprang up and tried to get hold of us. We fled in all directions to escape him. Since we had no other place to go, one by one we all reached our boat. As we stood in the darkness debating in fierce whispers about whether we should set sail now or wait for daylight, suddenly the ogre reappeared. What made it worse was that he had with him 2 other monsters, more hideous and ferocious than him. Left with no choice, we hurried into our boat and pushed out to sea. But the ogres had spotted us. They came running to the seashore and pelted us with large stones. As we paddled furiously to get away, I could feel the boat shake and toss as the stones hit us, and hear cries of pain from my companions as some of them were crushed by the stones. To add to our misery, the sea was so rough and our boat so clumsily made that we were hard put to stay afloat. I have no recollection how the next half hour passed, but finally we were out of reach of the trio's missiles. Then we looked around to assess the damage. To our horror, we discovered that the stones had killed most of our companions. Only three of us were left alive. Somehow we paddled on till the waves threw what remained of our boat upon an island. There we found sweet fruits to eat and fresh water to drink. Our spirits revived and we went to sleep that night with grateful hearts. Scarcely had we closed our eyes when we heard a hissing sound. Opening our eyes hastily, we saw a huge serpent like a dragon coiled around us. Before we could move, it seized one of us and swallowed half of him in one mighty gulp. Then it swallowed the rest of him. We heard his ribs crack in the serpent's belly. Seated, the monster slithered away. My companion and I were left to lament our fate. Each time we escaped one peril, we were comforted by another. The following day was spent in anguish. We searched desperately for pieces of wood to make a raft with, but there were not enough to be found. And besides, we had no tools with which to cut down trees or saw wood into the right shape. And so we were stranded on the island. That night, after we had eaten and drunk our fill, we climbed a tall tree to spend the night in its branches. I was on the topmost branch, my companion in the branch right below. In the dead of night, the serpent found us. He snatched my sleeping companion from the tree and swallowed him. I heard his ribs crack as the serpent gulped him down. Then once again it slithered away, leaving me half dead with fear and sorrow. I made up my mind to throw myself into the sea and end my troubles, but I could not do so. However painful, however lonely life may be, it is dear to those who live. Allah be praised. The following day, before dark, I was lucky enough to find 5 long and broad pieces of wood and tied them with vines across my head and body so that they enclosed me on all sides like a coffin. Then I lay on the ground, on my back, having done what I could do to save myself. In the dead of night, the serpent returned and tried to get at me, but it could not. Again and again, it came at me with open jaws. I lay there trembling, but each time, great Allah be thanked, the wooden planks saved me. When morning came, the angry beast slithered away, leaving me faint with fear and exhaustion. I unbound myself and made my way to the shore of the island. There, to my delight, I saw a sheep not too far away. Tearing a branch from a tree, I waved it in the air and shouted as loudly as I could to attract the crew's attention. The sailors spotted me. They sent a small boat from the ship to pick me up from the island. I cannot describe the great relief as I felt I clambered aboard the ship. I related to the crew all that had happened to me, and they too marveled at my survival. Now that I was safe, my adventure seemed like a bad dream that was over. The ship sailed on till we came to the island of Al Saltana, full of sandalwood trees. The captain anchored the ship, and the merchants on board went ashore with their goods to buy and sell. You are pauper who has braved great hardships, the captain said to me. I wish to help you. We have with us the goods of sailor whom we lost. We do not know if he is alive or dead. Take his goods and sell them. I will give you a portion of what you earn as payment for your labor. The rest we will send to the sailor's family when we return to Baghdad. I thanked the captain for his kindness. The goods were brought ashore and handed over to me. These belong to a man called Sindbad, said the captain. We lost him when we sailed from the island of the Rooks. I could hardly believe my ears. Did you know this Sindbad well? I inquired. No, replied the captain. All I knew was that he was from Baghdad. He drowned with many others while we had anchor off the island. Oh, captain, I am that Sindbad, I said to him. I did not drown but wandered away by myself and fell asleep on the island. When I awoke, you had sailed away without me. These are my goods. All those merchants who fetch diamonds from the Valley of Serpents will corroborate my story, for I told them all that had happened to me after you sailed away. The passengers and the crew of the ship gathered round me as I spoke. Some believed me, some did not. But one of the merchants, hearing me mention the Valley of Serpents, peered into my face and recognized me. For he was the very man whose piece of meat I had clutched to escape from that dreaded valley. I had gifted him many rare diamonds, and he remembered everything. After he confirmed my story and after the captain asked me some questions, he was finally convinced that I was indeed Sindbad. He embraced me, saying, Allah be praised for bringing us together again, so that I may restore your goods to you. I sold my goods and made ample profit. Our ship stopped at many ports on the way home. From the land of Hind, we bought cloves, ginger, and other spices. We saw many wonders in the Indian Sea. A fish that looked like a cow, others that looked like asses and camels, and a bird that came out of seashell and laid hatch its eggs on the surface of the water. After a prosperous voyage, we reached Basra, and from there I returned to my people in Baghdad. Giving thanks to the Almighty for my safe return, I distributed much wealth among the poor. Soon I forgot all the hardships I had suffered and settled down to a little of living well. This then is the story of my third voyage. Tomorrow, inshallah, I shall relate to you the adventures of my fourth voyage, which were even stranger and more wonderful. Marveling at the good fortune of Sindbad the sailor, all those present had a hearty meal at night and then dispersed. Sindbad the porter went home with another 100 gold dinars. his heart full of praise for his benefactor and the memories of Allah. The next morning, after his prayers, the porter returned to the mansion of his lost, who welcomed him warmly. After all the guests had assembled and eaten their fill, Sindbad began his story. Then this story we will conclude in the next video. The fourth voyage. Now this is the third voyage. Do you like it? Then tell me in the comment box and subscribe our channel. Thanks for watching, guys.